cinematic, sarcastic podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we're going to talk about The Wild Robot. Now, I had the choice, obviously, this weekend between The Wild Robot and Megalopolis, and because inside I am just a 5-year-old, you know I chose the cartoon. And of course, I'm hearing terrible things about Megalopolis, so I am very glad that I chose The Wild Robot over that one, though it is still on the list to get to eventually. So The Wild Robot is starring quite a good cast. Lupita Nyong'o is voicing the character of Roz, who is a shipwrecked robot who finds herself through sort of accidental circumstances raising a baby gosling. And the story sort of goes through her transformation of essentially being a mother for the first time, despite having these sort of programs to the antithesis, right? She is programmed as a robot to ask for tasks, and one of her tasks becomes raising this little gosling and teaching him to swim and to fly and getting him ready to go south for the winter. Now, this is taking place in what I would consider a futuristic sort of Earth. We do have lots of robots in this one, or at least, you see a few of them, but it definitely seems like an advanced civilization. You do see kind of moments where they are growing crops, for instance, indoors instead of on like a farm-like setting. But this one really focuses around the animals, obviously, if you have seen from the trailer. And I think that this just has such heart to it. I was not sure about this one because I haven't necessarily seen a lot of the recent sort of animated cartoons that are coming out be all that great. It's sort of like they're missing that heart from the film, and I'm used to those ones from when I was a kid. It had a story, it had a good meaning behind it, and some of that has been lost in more recent years. And then this does have sort of a strange animation style. It is done with the sort of painted cell style of the older films, but it kind of looks to me like a blend between sort of CGI and animation, though I know that that's not the style that they had used for this one. It's just kind of a strange looking film to me, and one that I wasn't sure whether or not it was going to be distracting when I had first seen it. But a few minutes into the film and I had completely forgotten about the animation style altogether. So it was not something that stayed in the forefront of my mind as the movie went on. I will have to say, I loved this film. This is one that I will definitely be looking for as soon as it comes out on streaming. It is one that I think that I will watch periodically over the years, like one that I will keep coming back to. I think it is an excellent one to take your family to take your children to. As a matter of fact, when I got out of the theater, I had immediately messaged my sister and told her, like, you have to take your kids to see The Wild Robot. And I had mentioned it to another friend of mine as well, that I was like, I think you're really going to love this. Like, do go see it. I wept openly like a baby in the theater during several moments of this film. It just has such great heart, and I think the cast does such a wonderful job. The story here is just so good. It's one of those kind of just deeply moving scenarios where you're like, what are you going to do to rise to the occasion? Obviously we have Roz, who is this robot who is really given programming where if she cannot find a task to complete from someone, she is meant to return back to kind of where she is from, and she's got this little homing beacon. And it really is about found family, but it's also about like finding who you really are and finding what is the most important to you. And despite the fact that you might be different from the people that surround you, for instance, the character of Brightbill, or the little gosling, is raised by a robot, which of course makes him stand out and be unusual in terms of the other geese. But as the movie goes on, you kind of figure out that those those are not weaknesses of his, despite the fact that the other geese kind of think so, that they turn around and become these great strengths for him by the end of the film. And it was one of those films that like definitely pulls on your heartstrings. Now, though I don't expect everyone to go in and just like openly cry, I am definitely one of those people that gets moved to tears quite easily if there are like sappy things going on in a film. And this one definitely got me. But it's not just one of those movies that's full of heart and there is really nothing else to it. There are a lot of really great comedic moments as well. The beaver that is in this film I find quite funny. Catherine O'Hara also voices a character named Pinktail in this one, and I really love her. She's a little opossum and she has like 6 or 7 little babies that follow her around and are on her, and she's kind of like the first guiding voice of no one knows when they are ready to be a mother. You just kind of are a mother and you figure it out as you go. And it's such a sweet and funny and just good movie all the way around. It is one that I would vehemently recommend to anyone who is looking for a film this weekend. I certainly think that it is worth seeing in the theaters. It's just such a joy that we don't often get, I feel like, out of movies these days, to really sit and just have an honestly good, heartfelt and warming, wonderful film to experience, especially something that you can experience with your family as well. So I would highly recommend going to see The Wild Robot if you have not. I would love to know your thoughts if you have seen this one. Subscribe to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.